At the company's annual party, in front of all the investors. He kicked me off the main table and put a diamond ring, bought with company money, on his mistress's finger. In that moment, I didn't cry, and I didn't make a scene. I just documented every process violation, every reimbursement record, and every equity file. 5 years of love trampled, my position humiliated, my identity erased. So I fought back with audits and systems. On the day of the annual party, I arrived 3 hours early. I was the person in charge of the entire event, Evelyn. I personally arranged every place card. The seat next to CEO Ryan had my name on it, but when I did the final check, that card was gone, replaced with Lena, a new operations assistant who'd only been at the company 6 months, always strutting around Ryan's office in heels. My fingers froze in midair. The stage lights were being tested, glaring into my eyes. Evelyn, Showley, the party coordinator, hurried over, voice low. Ryan personally changed it. Just informed us now. I looked up at the main table. It was empty, but I knew that in 2 hours, Ryan would sit in the center, and Lena would be right beside him. Everyone would see. Show me the process form, I said, extending my hand. Showley handed it over. I flipped through it quickly. No seat adjustment request. No email record. No approval at all. This wasn't compliant. Just then, Ryan walked in. He wore the dark gray suit I had picked for him, with the tie I gave him. He paused when he saw me, then walked over naturally. Evelyn, I adjusted a seat, he said lightly, like he was commenting on the weather. Lena is handling investor reception. It's convenient for her to sit next to me. I stared him down. Company rules require seat changes to go through the proper approval process. He smiled. That here you go again smile. It's just one seat. Don't be so serious. Lena appeared out of nowhere. She was still wearing her dress coat, walked up to Ryan, and naturally stood closer to him than I was. Evelyn, she said sweetly, aren't you operations? The main table is for executives and investors. Maybe the second row would be more suitable? The air froze. Operations. She was reminding me, and everyone eavesdropping, that I was just senior operations, not worthy to sit beside the CEO. Ryan said nothing. He tacitly approved. I felt the eyes of every staff member on me, like needles stabbing my back. Fine, I said. I saw the flash of triumph in Lena's eyes. Ryan wore a now you're reasonable expression, but I pulled my phone out of my bag, opened the Notes app, created a new document. Title, 2023 Annual Party Violation Records, First Entry, December 22nd, 7:03 p.m. CEO Ryan unilaterally adjusted the main table seating without approval. Verbal instruction only. No written record. IP addresses pending verification. I typed quickly. Ryan frowned. What are you doing? Documenting the process, I said, looking up at him with a smile. Since you insist on changing it, as the person in charge, I need to leave a record. Otherwise, if audit comes, we won't be able to explain. Lena's expression faltered. Ryan's face darkened. Delete it. Company Rule 17, all process changes must leave a trace. I said calmly. Do you want me to break the rules, Ryan? He stared at me, like I was a stranger. For the first time in 5 years, he looked at me this way. Do as you like, he finally said, then turned and draped his arm around Lena. Let's check the stage. They left. I stayed, continuing to type, recording the time, the possible IPs involved, approval loopholes, witness names, everything meticulously. Then I opened my email. New message. Recipients, Legal Department, Board Secretary, CC, Audit Committee. Subject, supplementary record on annual party seat adjustment process. Attached my documentation. Clicked send. When the send sound chimed, I looked at Ryan and Lena standing side by side on stage. Ryan, you taught me, in the workplace, document every concession. Now, I had. That night, I got home at 1 a.m., empty apartment. 5 years ago, when Ryan and I moved in, he said this would be our home. Now, only my footsteps echoed. My phone buzzed. Not Ryan. He was with investors tonight. No, with Lena. Not even a perfunctory text. It was my father. The bet matures in 3 days. Can you still hold on, daughter? I gripped the phone, slowly sliding down to the floor. 5 years ago. It was a winter night like this. My dad's study. The heater on full blast. But I was shivering. He loves you, but he loves his ambition more, Dad said, looking at Ryan's background report. Evelyn, are you sure you want to hide yourself? Betting on one man's true feelings? I'm sure. 22-year-old me said firmly. I want him to see me, not the daughter of the Shin Group. Dad was silent for a long moment. 5 years. He said, you hide your identity and start from scratch at his company. We won't help you. If he still chooses you after 5 years, I'll personally pave the way. If he changes, I'll accept the bet. I interrupted. Dad's eyes were complicated. If you lose, I'll clean up. But daughter, I fear you'll get hurt too badly. I smiled. It won't happen. Ryan is different. Back then, I really believed it. My phone buzzed again. Dad's second message, if it hurts, come home. The bet can end early. I was about to reply when another message popped up. Ryan, with investors tonight. Don't wait for me. 10 curt words. Not even a punctuation mark. I stared at the screen, suddenly remembering the first 3 lifelines of money from the company. 3 years ago, the company nearly went under. Ryan was so anxious he couldn't sleep, and I stayed with him in the office for 48 straight hours. At the last moment, 3 anonymous investments fell from the sky and saved the company. Ryan spun me around in a hug. We're so lucky. He didn't know that I had knelt in my father's study to get that money. I had said, don't let him know it's from me. Make it anonymous, with the harshest terms possible, so he thinks he earned it on merit. Dad sighed, you really are something, but in the end, he invested. Looking back, those 3 sums became fuel for Ryan's ambition. He rose higher and higher, so high he couldn't even see me on the ground anymore. I replied to Dad, I'll give you an answer after the annual party. Then I deleted Ryan's chat. The bet had 3 days left. Ryan, you only have 3 days too. The next day, in the company break room, I hadn't even reached the door with my cup when I heard laughter inside. Did you really see it? Ryan bought a diamond ring for Lena? Absolutely. At the China World Trade Center store. Saturday afternoon. Lena tried on a 3-carat one, and Ryan didn't even blink. Oh my God. Is this a proposal? And Evelyn? Wasn't she with Ryan? Who cares about her? 5 years. Still not married. Ryan's long bored. Lena's young, and she knows how to flirt. The cup warmed my hand. I pushed open the door. The laughter stopped. 3 female employees froze. Faces pale as ghosts. Morning, I said, walking to the coffee machine to pour a cup. Dead silence. I turned to the one who had spoken the loudest, Xiaozhang. You were at China World Trade Center on Saturday? She trembled. Why yes. Evelyn. What time? Around 3 in the afternoon. Which store? Tiffany on the first floor. I nodded. Good. Ryan's travel reimbursement from last Saturday includes a parking fee at China World Trade Center. The time matches. They exchanged nervous glances, unsure what I intended. But I took a sip of coffee. Company policy requires advance approval for business gifts. A diamond ring doesn't count as a business gift. Xiao Zhang's face turned completely white. I was just joking, Evelyn. Maybe I saw it wrong. It's fine, I said with a smile. I'll check the reimbursement record. If it's true, we'll remind Ryan to follow the process. If it's a rumor, I didn't finish. But they understood. Spreading rumors violates the employee handbook. Severe violations can lead to dismissal. I walked out with my coffee. Just before the door closed, I heard them whispering in panic, it's over, back at my desk. I opened the financial system. I had access to executive reimbursements. I typed Ryan's name and filtered for last Saturday. Sure enough, a business gift expense, 288,000 renminbi. Merchant, Tiffany, China World Trade Center. Notes field, empty. I took a screenshot, saved it, encrypted it. File name, Ryan_violation_reimbursement_diamond ring. Just as I finished, Lena arrived. She wore a new dress today, with flawless makeup, and a thin, noticeable ring on her hand, not 3 carats, but flashy enough. Evelyn, she said, sickly sweet. Thanks for your hard work at the annual party yesterday. Ryan said it wouldn't have gone so smoothly without you. A reminder, I'm just a worker, part of my job, I said without looking up. Oh, And Ryan asked me to tell you. She leaned closer. Perfume overwhelming. You don't need to attend next week's investor dinner. It's a senior-level event, it wouldn't really be suitable for you. I paused mid-typing and looked up at her. This is Ryan's idea? It's our decision, she said, emphasizing our. I looked at her for 3 seconds. Then I smiled. Fine. She was caught off guard by my compliance. Frozen for a moment. Then remember to send me the investor materials. She stammered, and turned to leave. The click of her heels on the floor sounded like a countdown. I opened another encrypted folder. It already contained a dozen files, seat violations, reimbursement issues, process loopholes, each one a trap Ryan himself had laid. Now, there was one more. Lena, do you realize? Every step you push me, you're speeding up his countdown. That night at the annual party, I wore a black dress, sitting in the farthest corner of the second row, perfect view of the room, yet almost invisible. At the main table, Lena in a silver couture gown, like a princess. Ryan sat beside her, arm casually draped over her chair. Cameras snapped non-stop. The host beamed. Next, let's welcome our young CEO, Ryan. To give his speech, Ryan stepped up. Spotlight on him, charismatic and confident. Thanks to all investors, partners, and colleagues, he listed a long string of people. But not me, the colleague who had been his support for 5 years. Saved the company 3 times. Carried the annual party alone, not even worth a mention. In the audience, Lena gazed up at him, eyes full of admiration. Some part of me quietly shattered. This year, we have an exceptionally outstanding colleague, Ryan continued, smile widening. Though she's joined the company recently, her contributions are remarkable. I want to give her a special award. Spotlights began moving. The first beam passed over me, paused for a second. The room fell silent. Some people turned to look at me. Then the light swung sharply and landed firmly on Lena. She gasped, stood, eyes brimming with tears. What an actress. Ryan stepped down, pulling a blue velvet box from his pocket, opened it. A massive diamond ring glinted under the lights. Lena, Ryan said gently, this ring symbolizes our deeper collaboration. I hope we continue to move forward side by side. Deeper collaboration. What a clever double meaning. The room erupted in applause. Whistles sounded. Cameras went wild. Lena held out her hand, letting Ryan slide the ring onto her finger. 3 carats, the same number I had seen on the reimbursement record on Saturday. They hugged. Cheers filled the room. Amid the applause, I stood up, walked to the side stage control desk, picked up the microphone. My voice came through the speakers, calm and clear, cutting through all the claps. CEO Ryan. The room went silent instantly. Everyone turned to look at me. Ryan and Lena remained frozen in their embrace on stage. I walked slowly to the edge of the spotlight. According to company financial policy, any gift purchase over 50,000 renminbi requires board approval. The diamond ring, valued at 288,000 renminbi, purchased with company funds, qualifies as a business gift. I paused, watching Ryan's face turn pale. Please follow the process. Otherwise, next audit, it will be difficult for me to explain. I set down the microphone, turned and walked toward the banquet hall doors. High heels clicked sharply on the marble floor, 1 step, then another, echoing in everyone's heart. 3 seconds of silence behind me, then an uproar. I didn't go far. I entered the restroom and locked the door. Outside, muffled voices argued, whispers of commentary. Ryan's raised voice trying to explain, but I couldn't hear clearly. I approached the sink and looked at my reflection. Black dress, updo, flawless makeup, but my eyes were hollow. On my left ring finger, a thin plain band. The ring Ryan had bought with his first month's bonus when the company first turned a profit 3 years ago. Not expensive, 3,000 renminbi. He had said, when the company goes public, I'll get you a 3-carat one. Now he gave it to someone else. I slowly took off the plain band. The metal was cold. Inside, engraved, Ari, Ryan and Evelyn. I clenched the ring in my palm, pain stabbing my hand. No tears. Not one. Outside, I heard footsteps and hushed female voices, so ruthless, publicly slapped in the face. Serves him right. What a jerk. Evelyn has been with him for 5 years. But she's so pitiful. Just dumped like this. Keep it down. She might be in there. The footsteps receded. I turned on the tap, cupped the cold water, and splashed it on my face. Ice cold, stinging, but more real than tears. The reflection in the mirror had red eyes, not from crying, but from resolve. I dried my face, reapplied a touch of lipstick, and put the plain band back on, for now. Back in the banquet hall, cleanup had already started. Workers dismantled the stage. Chaos everywhere. The main table was empty. Ryan and Lena were long gone. I found a chair in the corner and watched, like witnessing the final act of a play. An assistant ran over, voice low, "Evelyn, CEO Ryan wants you, in his office." I looked up. "Now," he said, "no matter what. Go see him." I smiled. "Fine. I'll go." Ryan's office was on the top floor. I pushed the door open. He had his back to me, standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city lights stretched beneath him, dazzling. "Evelyn," he said without turning, "you went too far today." I closed the door. I spoke the truth. He spun around, eyes bloodshot. "The truth? The truth is you humiliated me in front of the whole company and the investors. The one who embarrassed everyone is you, buying a diamond ring for your mistress with company money. That's a reward," he yelled. "Lena closed the Huaca deal. She earned it." "Earned it?" I walked slowly to his desk. "Ryan, company policy is clear. Anything over 50,000 renminbi requires proper approval. That's a document you personally signed." He fell silent. My gaze landed on some files on his desk. The top one revealed the corner of a hospital logo. Ryan noticed my stare, face changing, and rushed to take the file. But I stopped him first. "What's this?" I asked. "Nothing. Work documents." I pulled it out. Early pregnancy test report, name, Lena Chen, gestational age, 8 weeks, exam date, December 20th, 2023. The air froze. I looked down at the paper, trembling slightly, not from me, but the air conditioning. 8 weeks. I read aloud. 2 months ago. Ryan's face drained from steel gray to pale white. "Evelyn, let me explain." I set the report down and looked at the next file. Prenuptial agreement draft, equity transfer clause, 15% of company shares under Ryan to transfer to Lena after marriage. Below that, equity dilution plan, target, mysterious major shareholder, 47% stake. Action, issue new shares to dilute stake below 30%, mysterious major shareholder, 47% stake. That was me. I had invested through my father's fund via layered holdings when the company was struggling. 47% of the company, but the agreement stipulated no interference unless major clauses were triggered. Ryan never knew who the mysterious shareholder was. Now I knew. He wanted to dilute my shares. While I was still his girlfriend, he was planning how to kick me out of my own company. "Explain?" I looked at him. His lips trembled. "Evelyn, Lena and it was an accident. But she's pregnant. I have to take responsibility." "Responsible by giving her 15% of the company? That's the prenuptial draft. I can change it. Responsible by diluting my shares?" I interrupted, holding up the plan. "Ryan, do you know who the mysterious shareholder is?" He froze. Then slowly his eyes widened. "No, impossible, it's me," I said calmly. "The 3 life-saving investments were mine. 47% of the shares are mine. The mysterious shareholder you've been trying to find. The one you wanted out, you've been sleeping with her for 5 years." Ryan stepped back, hitting the desk. You lied to me?" His voice was hoarse. "Lied?" I smiled, tears finally welling but held tight. "I hid my identity to prevent you from feeling pressured by my background. I invested anonymously so you'd think your success was your own. I stayed hands-off for 5 years to give you total space. I advanced step by step. And what did you do? You used my money to fuel your ambition. Used my trust to nurture your mistress. And now, you want to use my shares to marry her?" Ryan shook his head. "No. Evelyn, I didn't know. I didn't know it was you. If you knew, it was me." I stared him down. "What would you have done? Diluted my shares sooner? Kicked me out earlier?" He had no answer. My phone rang. Lena's custom ringtone. Ryan grabbed it like a lifeline. "Hello? Lena? I'm coming right now." He glanced at me, eyes conflicted, shock, panic, and a trace of disgust. "Evelyn," he said after hanging up, voice suddenly hard. "We'll discuss this later. Lena isn't feeling well. I need to be with her. She's pregnant. She does need someone with her. I nodded. Ryan seemed to relax, thinking I had conceded. But as he reached the door, I said, Ryan, do you remember when you registered the company? I lent you 500,000 renminbi to start? He froze. You said it was a loan and gave me an IOU. I said slowly. 6% annual interest. 5-year term. Matures at the end of this year. He slowly turned. Are you asking me for the money now? Not asking. I corrected him. Just reminding you, it's time to pay back. The last trace of guilt on his face vanished, replaced by cold anger. Fine, Evelyn. You're something else. He nodded. Tomorrow, I'll pay you back. Principal plus interest. Follow the company loan process. I smiled. Otherwise, audit won't have a clear record. He slammed the door behind him. I stood alone in the empty office, listening as his footsteps faded down the hall. Then I walked to the bookshelf and slid the third row of books aside. Behind it, a hidden safe. Fingerprint unlock. Opened. No cash. No jewelry. Just stacks of documents. Equity certificates. Proxy agreements. Investment proofs. And the full power of attorney my father had sent yesterday, stamped with the Shin Group seal. I pulled out the authorization. The last line, effective immediately. All resources of the Shin Group are at the full disposal of Shinishwan Evelyn. Shinishwan, my real name, and used for 5 years. I packed the files into my bag, turned off the lights and left. The emergency lights in the corridor stretched my shadow long, like a farewell that would last forever. That night, I didn't sleep. Sat on the apartment floor, surrounded by documents, shareholding structures, financial reports, evidence of all of Ryan's misconduct over the years, and background checks on Lena and her family company. Dad called at 3 a.m. Daughter, end the bet early, he said, voice tired. The board received a whistleblower letter regarding Ryan's misappropriation of funds. Did you send it? Yes. Why not wait 3 more days? I couldn't wait, I said, watching the sky lighten. Dad, he got her pregnant. 8 weeks. Silence on the other end. Long and heavy. I understand, Dad finally said. Do you need me to do anything? Not for now. I gripped the phone. I'll fight this battle myself. But remember, Dad's voice was low. The daughter of the Shin family may lose love, but never dignity. If necessary, the entire Shin Group is your support. I don't need support, I said. I need a blade. After hanging up, I opened my computer, started drafting emails. First, to the audit committee, formally requesting a special audit of CEO Ryan, attached with a preliminary list of suspicious items. Second, to all investors, informing them of potential corporate governance risks, suggesting an emergency shareholders meeting. Third, to the board, proposing Ryan's dismissal as CEO, listing 7 reasons. By the time I hit send, the sun had risen, bright sunlight. I took a shower, changed into a simple shirt and slacks. No makeup, barefaced. Before leaving, I checked my phone. Ryan's message at 5 a.m. Money transferred to your account. All settled. All settled. 5 years of youth. 3 life-saving investments. Countless late-night hours. He repaid the 500,000 with interest. I replied, received. Loan repayment certificate sent to your email. Please sign and return. Then I blocked him. The office atmosphere was tense. Everyone secretly watched me, then quickly looked down when I glanced their way. The break room rumors morphed. Evelyn's leaving. Ryan blew up last night. Lena absent today. Severe morning sickness. I walked into the office as usual and opened my computer. First task, instruct the finance department to compile all annual party accounts and send them to me. The CFO personally called. Evelyn, this isn't proper procedure. I was the annual party lead. Audit requires it, I said calmly. Or is there something the finance department can't show me? Silence on the other end. Half an hour later, the accounts arrived. I checked them one by one. Inflated catering costs, equipment rental markups, gifts purchased at 3 times market price, plenty of problems. Ryan didn't arrive until 10. He walked straight into my office, closed the door. Evelyn, we need to talk. He tried to soften his tone. I was emotional yesterday, but our 5-year relationship shouldn't end like this. I looked up. And how? After you dilute my shares? After you marry Lena? His expression darkened. That investment, why did you keep it from me? Keep it from you? I smiled. Ryan, you personally signed the investment agreement. The proxy is a legitimate fund. Terms reviewed by your lawyer. You never asked who the investor was. Because you didn't care where the money came from, as long as it arrived. He was speechless. Now, I leaned back. Let's talk about another sum. Last year, you borrowed 2 million renminbi from the company in your name, claiming it was for overseas expansion. But according to the books, the money went to Lena's family company. Does the board know? Ryan's pupils shrank. You're checking me? I'm auditing the annual party and found irregularities. I smiled. It's my responsibility. Evelyn. He lowered his voice, threatening. Don't push me. Push you? I stood, walking toward him. Ryan. 5 years. I shielded you from drinks. Stayed up late writing plans. Soothed investors. Even watched by your parents' sickbeds. Now I want one explanation. And you call it pushing? He stepped back. That 2 million. I'll return it. When? Next month, today. I interrupted. Or I'll immediately submit it to the board for review as an unauthorized loan. His eyes widened, finally revealing fear. You really want this? You started it. A standoff. Finally, Ryan gritted his teeth. Fine. Before the end of work today, I'll pay. Follow proper loan repayment procedures. I added. I want to see the bank transfer. He slammed the door. An hour later, the CFO called. Voice trembling, CEO Ryan just transferred 2 million back to the company account. He also told me not to make a fuss. Was the process completed? See completed. Good. I hung up and opened my drawer. Pulled out the resignation letter I had printed long ago. Walked to Ryan's office and knocked. He looked up, saw the envelope in my hand, and his face changed. Evelyn, we can talk, no need. I placed the letter on his desk. Effective immediately. I've already sent the handover checklist to you and HR. His fingers trembled as he picked up the envelope. You hate me that much? I don't hate you, I said, looking at him one last time, at the face I had loved for 5 years. I just finally see you clearly. As I turned to leave, I heard him knock things to the floor. I didn't look back. Back at my desk, I pulled out my phone and texted Dad. Now, it's my turn to win. Sent. Then I started packing. 5 years of accumulation fit into a small cardboard box. Carrying it out of the building. The sun was shining. I took a deep breath. The air was freedom. 3 days later, the company held an emergency board meeting. Ryan sat at the head, exhausted but trying to appear calm. Lena sat beside him, her 3-carat diamond ring gleaming. Board members. Ryan began. Today we have 2 main topics. First, clarification of recent false rumors. Second, the company's next round of financing. The door opened. I walked in. The room went silent. All eyes turned to me. Ryan and Lena looked like they'd seen a ghost. Evelyn? Ryan stood. You've been dismissed and have no right to attend, Ms. Shin was invited by me. A deep, authoritative voice said. Chin, the company's senior legal counsel, stood up from the back. He had helped me handle the proxy agreements years ago. What do you mean, Chin? Ryan's face changed. Chin ignored him and addressed the board. Under the company charter, any shareholder holding more than 5% may attend board meetings. Ms. Shin is the largest single shareholder of the company. What? Someone exclaimed. She holds 47%, Chin said clearly, through 3 overseas funds as proxies. Here's the proof of ownership. He projected the documents onto the large screen. Black on white. Ownership, 47%. Beneficiary, Shin Ishwan. Shin Ishwan. My real name. Shen. Ishwan? Ryan stared at me. You are the, of Shin Group? Shin Guodong, chairman of Shin Group, is my father. I said calmly. 5 years ago, I hid my identity to join this company and invested personal funds. The agreement stipulated no interference in management, unless major governance failures occurred. I walked to the empty seat, directly opposite Ryan, and sat. And according to my audit over the past week, I said, addressing the board, the company has serious governance issues. CEO Ryan is suspected of misappropriating funds, falsifying accounts, engaging in irregular related party transactions, and attempting to illegally dilute a major shareholder's stake. That's nonsense. Ryan slammed the table, losing control. These are lies. Whether they are lies or not, the audit report will speak, I said, signaling Chin. The projection switched. Evidence after evidence appeared: inflated purchase contracts, funds flowing to Lena's family company, internal emails attempting to dilute shares. Board members whispered, faces growing increasingly tense. Based on the above, I continued clearly. I propose, first, immediate dismissal of CEO Ryan. Second, a full audit. Third, freeze all suspicious fund flows. I object, Ryan shouted, standing, eyes bloodshot. You can't just take her word. This is personal revenge. She's not acting in the company's interest, Ryan. I interrupted. He paused, gasping. You used my money to buy a diamond for your mistress, I said slowly, each word a knife. Used my shares to secure her marriage. Used the company I saved 3 times to benefit her family. I stood, surveying the board. Now, do you still think this is a personal dispute? Silence. Lena suddenly started crying. No. Ryan loves me, we just MS. Lena. I looked at her. Your pregnancy report shows 8 weeks. But 2 months ago, you were on a business trip in Europe, and Ryan was in the country. Shall I pull flight records for you? Her crying stopped, face pale as paper. I misremembered the gestation? I nodded. Or misremembered whose report to use to force a marriage. The room erupted. Ryan glared at Lena. You lied to me? I didn't. Ryan. Let me explain. Chaos. Complete chaos. I watched the couple who had dazzled at the annual party tear each other apart, blame each other, collapse. There was no satisfaction, only desolation. 5 years. The man I loved was this despicable. I raised my hand. Now, we will vote on the proposal to dismiss CEO Ryan. Chin raised his hand first, then the second, the third. Ryan looked at the raised hands, slumping back in his chair, eyes empty, like a shell whose soul had been extracted. The board passed the dismissal overwhelmingly. Ryan was immediately relieved of his duties. Security came to escort him out. He paused at the door and looked at me. Hatred, regret, unwillingness, and a trace of plea. I looked away. The door closed. The room fell into terrifying silence. Ms. Shen, a board member asked cautiously, what next? Audit continues. I opened my folder. Additionally, I suspect core company data has been stolen. The IT department has confirmed that during her tenure, Lena repeatedly accessed restricted design files without authorization. Lena was still seated, face pale. I didn't. I was just doing my job. Doing your job? I opened another file. Then explain why your family company's new product released last week is 90% similar to a concept draft we had locked 3 months ago? On the projector, side-by-side design comparisons appeared. Almost identical. This is a coincidence. A coincidence down to the exact layer order in the design software? I pulled up the source file logs. Lena, you downloaded this concept draft late at night 3 months ago. The next day, your family company registered a nearly identical design patent. Incontrovertible evidence. Her mouth hung open, but no sound came out. According to the employee handbook, theft of trade secrets gives the company the right to pursue legal action. I said, looking at Chin. Chin nodded. The police have been contacted. They should arrive shortly. No, Lena finally broke down. Ryan told me to do it. He said the company was failing anyway, and I should just take the valuable stuff. You're lying. Ryan's furious voice came from outside. He hadn't gone far. Security blocked him, but he struggled to get through the door. You seduced me. You faked your pregnancy to make me divorce. You said your family company needed the designs. I wasn't pregnant. The report was fake. You were foolish enough to believe it yourself. The two of them shouted through the door, like 2 rabid dogs, tearing at each other. The board members shook their heads in disbelief. I watched quietly until the police arrived and took Lena away. Ryan was also escorted to cooperate with the investigation. The boardroom finally fell silent. Ms. Shen, an older board member asked cautiously, the company is leaderless now. What do you suggest? I closed my folder. I will serve as interim CEO until a new management team is appointed. During this period, Shin Group will provide all necessary support. Additionally, I added, all cooperation with Lena's family company is immediately terminated. Any payments already made will be fully recovered, and if they refuse, then we'll see them in court. I stood. Meeting adjourned. As I walked out, my phone vibrated. A message from Dad. The board just watched the live stream. Daughter, well done. I replied, not over yet. The real reckoning was just beginning. Over the next month, the audit team combed through the company's books like a fine-toothed comb. The results were shocking. Ryan had misappropriated over 8 million yuan, diamonds, luxury goods, overseas trips, all on company accounts. The so-called collaboration payments to Lena's family company had no legitimate business purpose. It was pure cash siphoning. Worse, a third of the company's core technology patents had been secretly transferred to a shell company personally controlled by Ryan. This constitutes criminal activity, Chin said, handing me the report. I flipped through it, page after page, each one a testament to the trust one once placed in that man. Call the police, I said. Ryan could face jail time. Then let him. I lifted my head. Adults must be responsible for their choices. Chin nodded and went to act. The next day, Ryan stormed into my office. He looked gaunt, unshaven, all the charisma drained from him. Evelyn, please, his voice trembled. For the sake of our 5 years together, don't call the police. I'll return the money, the patents, everything. Can you really repay it? I asked calmly. I can work and pay it back. A lifetime if necessary, but I don't want your money, I said, looking at him. Ryan, I want you behind bars. His legs buckled. He almost fell. You hate me that much. I don't hate you. I repeated. I am only fulfilling my duties as a shareholder. You stole company assets and harmed shareholder interests. You must be punished. What about Lena? He suddenly blurted. She was involved too. Why only me? She is under investigation as well. I said. Soon, you'll face each other in court. He completely broke down, collapsed to the floor, covering his face, crying like a child. I was wrong. Evelyn, I was truly wrong. I shouldn't have betrayed you. Shouldn't have been greedy. Shouldn't. I said nothing. I just hit the intercom. Security, escort this gentleman out. He was dragged away, still shouting my name, but I could no longer hear him. My phone rang. An investor, MS. Shen. We've decided to withdraw our investment. The company's reputation is completely ruined. I understand, I said. However, Shin Group will purchase all your shares at the agreed price. They paused. Shin Group, really taking over this mess? This isn't a mess. I looked out the window. It's a chance for rebirth from the ashes. After hanging up, I opened my computer, started drafting the restructuring plan. The company would die, but the new company would rise from the ashes. And this time, control would be in my hands. Before Ryan and Lena's trial, 2 events occurred. First, Lena's family company turned on her, voluntarily providing the police with evidence that Ryan pocketed kickbacks, claiming they had been forced to cooperate. Second, Ryan exposed that Lena had faked her pregnancy to coerce a marriage, and had forged multiple business contracts to swindle company funds. Dog bites dog, complete chaos. Media went wild. The once golden couple became fraudsters and corporate spies. The company's stock plummeted, but Shin Group bought heavily at the bottom, increasing its stake from 47% to 68%. Absolute control. On the day of the trial, I attended, sat in the back row of the courtroom. When Ryan was brought in, he saw me. His eyes were conflicted, mouth opened, but he said nothing. Lena kept her head down, crying. The evidence was undeniable. The lawyers had no defense. The judge announced, Ryan, convicted of embezzlement, commercial bribery, and trade secret theft, was sentenced to 7 years in prison. Lena, convicted of commercial fraud and document forgery, was sentenced to 3 years. The gavel fell. Dust settled. Walking out of the courtroom, the sun was blinding. Ryan's parents were there, rushing toward me. MS. Shen, please, save Ryan. He's young. 7 years in prison will ruin him. I stopped. Auntie, I said softly. Did he ever think when he misappropriated 8 million that it was the employees' blood and sweat? Did he ever think that when he stole patents, it was the engineers' countless sleepless nights? The two wept uncontrollably. I gave him chances. I said, when he first violated the rules, I reminded him to follow procedures. When he bought the diamond, I reminded him to get approval. When he borrowed money, I reminded him to repay it, but he chose to deceive, every time. Now, the result is of his own making. I turned and walked away, didn't look back. Because if I did, I would no longer see the boy who once made my heart race. He had long since died in his own greed. 1 month later, the company completed its restructuring. It was renamed New Dawn Tech, and I became CEO. On my first day, I held an all-hands meeting. The company has been through turbulence over the past few months, I said from the stage, scanning faces filled with anticipation and unease alike. But the turbulence is over. From today, I'll only say 3 things. First, all employees whose interests were harmed by Ryan and Lena will be fully compensated. The patents stolen from the tech department have been recovered, and the engineers who contributed will receive their rightful shares. Applause broke out. Second, the new company bylaws include a clause: any executive may not engage in related party transactions with companies owned by relatives. Violators will be immediately terminated and held legally accountable. Even louder applause. Third, I paused. We are establishing a transparent account system. Any expenditure above 100,000 yuan will be fully visible. I will lead by example. Every reimbursement I submit, you will all be able to see. The room fell silent for a moment, then erupted in enthusiastic applause. I knew rebuilding trust would take time, but at least I had taken the first step. After the meeting, my father called. Daughter, the bet has ended, he said with a hint of amusement. You won. I lost in love, I admitted. But you won in humanity, he said softly. Now you know, some people don't withstand the test. It's not your fault. My eyes pricked. Dad, I'm sorry. These 5 years, I've made you worry. My foolish child, he chuckled. You've grown, and that's what matters. Oh, by the way, next month at the Industry Summit, you're the keynote speaker. I'll help you pick the topic. What topic? The first lesson in investing, due diligence on human nature. I smiled. Good. After hanging up, my assistant knocked. Ms. Shen, here's next week's schedule. Also, she hesitated. Some media want to interview you regarding Ryan's case. Decline, I said. And if they ask about your personal life, just say, I looked out at the darkening skyline. I'm single, and I'm enjoying it. The assistant nodded and left. I returned to my desk and opened my computer. An email appeared, from the prison. Sender, Ryan. Subject, I'm sorry, I didn't open it. Dragged it to the trash. Deleted permanently. Some apologies come too late. Some wounds don't need forgiveness. They just need to be let go. On the day of the summit, I wore a simple black suit. No jewelry. As I stepped on stage, the audience fell silent. Hello, I'm Shanishwan, CEO of New Dawn Tech. I began. Today, I want to talk not about technology, not about markets, but about a lesson often overlooked in investing: due diligence on human nature. The slide behind me displayed the title. 5 years ago, I anonymously invested in a company. The CEO was young, ambitious, seemingly upright. I invested, kept my identity hidden, and watched him grow. Murmurs ran through the audience. They knew exactly who I meant. I did financial due diligence, legal due diligence, technical due diligence, but I failed to do human due diligence. I didn't ask if one day he had to choose between money and conscience. Which would he choose? Between power and love. Which would win? Next slide. He chose money, chose power. He used my money to support a mistress, my equity to secure a marriage, and the company I saved 3 times to fill an endless pit. The room was silent. So now, I said, looking at everyone, my investment principle includes one more rule before investing. Assess the founder's human nature. How? Watch how they treat their parents, their subordinates, and their failures. Watch what they do when no one is looking. Watch where their bottom line stands when faced with huge temptation. The last slide had only one sentence: investing is, at its core, investing in people. When people fail, no amount of money can save them. Thunderous applause. During the QA, someone asked, Ms. Shen, after all this, do you still believe in love? The room went quiet. I smiled. I believe in love, but I don't believe love can overcome all the evils in human nature. And do you still believe in people? Yes. I nodded, but I believe more in systems and rules. Good systems keep bad people from acting. Bad systems can turn good people into bad ones. Applause rang out again. After the summit, my father waited backstage. He hugged me. You spoke beautifully, he said. Dad. I leaned on his shoulder like when I was a child. Have I changed? You have, he said, stroking my hair. Stronger, clearer, more like my daughter. I smiled. Tears welled up, but didn't fall. These were tears of growth. A year later, New Dawn Tech went public. I stood in the trading hall, holding the bell, staring at a sea of camera flashes. Dad sat in the front row, nodding proudly. The bell rang. Applause thundered. I turned to the audience. The new in New Dawn represents a new beginning. I said, Dawn represents the stars. I hope this company can shine like the stars, illuminating where it should, warming those who need it. That night at the celebration, my assistant quietly said, Ms. Shen, Ryan's appeal for early release was rejected. Lena went bankrupt and moved to another city after her release. I nodded silently. And, do you still think about him? She asked. No. I sipped champagne. Like an illness that has healed, the scar remains, but it doesn't hurt. When the banquet ended, I walked alone to the terrace. The city lights shimmered like an inverted starry sky. The wind was cool, but it felt refreshing. My phone buzzed, a proposal from a partner. I opened it and replied, 10 a.m. tomorrow. Meeting room. Details discussed then. Then I put the phone away, gazing into the distance. 5 years felt like a long dream, a dream of love, betrayal, breaking, and rebirth. But the dream ended. The road ahead lay beneath my feet, and this time, I walked it solely for myself. My assistant appeared, Ms. Shen. Time to cut the cake. Coming. I turned, stepping into the warm glow of the lights, not looking back. The road ahead was clear, and the scenery was magnificent. I wasn't just a woman who had taken revenge. I had leveled up.